I'm going to present something that is not really exactly like the previous presentations, but I think in Barcamp we are all about changing the world and finding solutions to problems. So this is what I'm here to present, a solution to a big problem. So first of all, perhaps you're not all familiar with fermented food. What is this? This is, sorry? No, sorry. Ah, okay. This is, here you can see it's a very simple procedure. You take some vegetables, you put them under salt and water, you leave them for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, and after that you will have something really tasty with a lot of bacteria inside. But the good bacteria, I'm going to explain in a moment. Anyway, so who am I and why the hell am I talking about this? I'm an interaction designer. I studied in the Netherlands, behavior change, and I just moved to Portugal, and I worked for some years in digital health. So now we're going to see how technology is going to assist this behavior change that we wanted to implement. So so you will have to forgive me and leave me exactly 2 or 3 minutes to explain you what the problem is and why it's so extremely important that you all know about this. Because in the whole world, perhaps there are traditions since forever. People fermented foods, and perhaps you are familiar with some of these foods. You are familiar with kimchi in Korea, or miso, tempeh in Japan, or sauerkraut, or beer. Not all beer has probiotics, but some has. This process has always been used to preserve food, but also to make it more nutrient and to make it more tasty. Exactly. And so why do we need this now? Why is it so important that people like you know about this now and do this now? We have to go back for 1 minute exactly into medical science. That is, some years ago, perhaps this is interesting for you, in the same way that people studied the DNA and mapped the DNA, some years ago they started this project called the Human Microbiome Project. And they wanted to map all the bacteria that live inside our intestines. And they almost did. They're still working on it. Anyway, what they found out was something extremely scary. That is, if from this health of our nice bacteria in the gut, a lot of diseases were dependent on the health of the bacteria. So, and a lot of older diseases like cancer, cardiovascular disease, but also all these strange new diseases that are augmenting every day, and we see a lot of them. And they did have some clues about why all these diseases are exploding right now. And some of the clues are that we have heavy metals almost everywhere in everything in our modern society is full of poisons, unfortunately, from simple medications or from children's toys or makeup or deodorant or paint. And also in food, in milk, when we buy stuff. I'm sorry I'm scaring you. This was prepared for another conference about climate change where people are more desensitized about the horrors of modern life. So I'm sorry if this is bad news. There are good news also. So when we buy stuff in the supermarkets, there are these super molds that grow inside the processed food. And McDonald's, I'm sorry, a lot of you eat that here probably. Apologies. Anyway, so what happens to the human gut is that we end up like this, like our good bacteria sort of cannot make it against all this terrorism from the outside world. So this is why it's so important that I bring this idea here to you. And this is one solution. Of course, the normal solution would be to just stop polluting and stop messing up with food, but that's not going to happen very soon. So what can we, as simple people without much power in the world, what can we do? And this is one simple thing that we can do. So that's the acidophil bacteria, that's a plushie. And what we can do is, this is why fermented food is so important, because it supports this good flora, and also especially it helps bring out the heavy metals from our body. Unbelievable, but true. So, it's really cheap, it's easy to make, and it will help a lot of economical issues. Anyway, so why are you, there is a lot of stuff out there. There are so many books, and there are blogs, and there are communities, but why people like you don't know about it? Because when you think about these things, what you think about is either yoga people, Gwyneth Paltrow, you know, gives a little bad rap to a lot of really good stuff, but she's like, and or, you know, people from the countryside, or vegans. I don't know how many of you hate vegans. I was one, but anyway, but a lot of people hate vegans for some reason. They get a bad rap also. Or people who are with really serious illnesses, so normal people just don't want to think about that. So this is why fermented food gets a bad rap. And also, it's really difficult to sell it because it's not stable. Today in the supermarket, this is kombucha and this is alive. You can buy it. I'm not... I don't get sponsorship from anyone up to now. So, but I tried it. It's alive, but usually it's really difficult to sell it because there are regulations that you cannot sell live bacteria in the shops, even if they are so good for us, and they are difficult to make with. Where is the egg? Yes, they are difficult to produce in mass production. So this is why this proposal, I hope I have enough minutes to explain, but this proposal is to create places where people can learn, make, share their knowledge or share the actual food that they make at home. And the focus should be about fermented food. And there are many traditional ways of making this stuff. People in the countryside know about it, old people. It's really the core of the culture, food. So how do we bring this to the new people, to the young people, and to people who are used to consume food from the supermarket and to buy it? And so this is why technology can help us. And this is a very nice, good model because we can use these templates that have been used to, how do you say, disseminate a new technology to people who are not aware, like normal citizens. You are already 3 steps ahead. So and to disseminate this technology so that it will become normal. It's Fab Lab. I understand it's not very common here in Portugal. There is one in Lisbon, but it has another name. So this is an open source lab where all over the world you can a place where you can use 3D printers. You can use for very cheap laser cutters. You can use all this technology, and it's a great concept because you can just write to the organizers and say, I want to open one in the middle of nowhere in the Azores. And they say, fine, you just need this and this and this, and I will give you a template, and I will give you they will tell you exactly which machines to buy, and you will be able to open one anywhere. I have a friend who opened up 2 in the middle of nowhere in Mexico. And this is how, and so, an Impact Hub, there is one here in Lisbon, and you know, it's an open, it's a co-working space, but the interesting thing is that it's always the same everywhere. So it really has very clear guidelines about how it should be, light on this side, plants on this side, kitchen, coffee. Anyway, so they wanted to create the perfect space, but the interesting thing is that it is a template, that you get some guidelines, and anyway, so this is the project, to create something like this, but like community gardens, where people can learn about probiotics and learn to make it, and then get the habit, in the habit of making them at home. But as they always say, that it is much easier to create new behaviors than to change the behaviors of people. So this is one way to step around the fact that people just don't want can't be bothered to make fermented food at home, because they think what they buy in the supermarket is fine. But so how do we create some new behaviors that can bring this new habit into society? This is one possible way of doing it. And I will just skip, there should be a downloadable kit that you can download from the internet with informations, with a scientific background, the instructions to set up the thing. And if any of you have questions, or have advice, or want to be in any way involved, or want to know more about fermented food, and yes, I think this we need to do. You need to know about this. Thank you.